Hello, my lovelies. Dawn Bates here. Today I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey, and I invite you to stay open-minded. I'm going to ask you to stay open-minded because this month my article is called Don't Ask, Don't Get. And one of the things I'd like us to explore is the questions that we're asking, the way we get curious. Now, at the moment, I'm coming to the end of writing a biography about a very curious lady. And she's a leader in so many ways. And as somebody who has studied leadership and spoken and delivered lectures on leadership, and is a great passion of mine, not management, leadership, I wanted us to explore what we actually want from leadership. What do we actually know about leadership? And not just leadership on an international level, like the political level, but also the leadership that we're getting on a national level. The leadership we're getting in science, which is very relevant for this month's issue. We're looking at the leadership and the questions that we need to be asking in our schools. Are our schools developing wise leaders, or are they developing leaders that are actually followers of a rhetoric? And one of the things I'd like us to also explore is what kind of leadership do we want within our workplaces, within our communities, but also in our homes? What are we leading our children to? Now, I remember a few years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine over coffee. And we were talking about an up-and-coming careers advice workshop that I was delivering a speech for. And I mentioned that one of the things that parents do is they do not lead their children to a healthy vision of the workplace. Because there's a lot of parents and a lot of families end up with more month left at the end of the month than money. And the children see their parents wearing clothes that do not relate to them. They see their fathers hanging themselves in the morning with a tie, mother stressed out, father stressed out, another bad day at the office, moaning about their colleagues, moaning about their shit boss, and all of this. And how they don't like their work and all of this, that and the other. And it doesn't paint a very nice picture of what it is to go to work. One of the things I wanted us to explore is what are we accepting when it comes to leadership? What are we settling for? And what different questions can we ask? Not just of other people, but of ourselves. Now, I'm going to take you on a little journey, and it starts with my life when I lived out in Egypt. I worked in schools in Egypt. I was a class teacher. I had always wanted to be a teacher, always. My parents couldn't afford to send me to university. They would have done. They would have worked crazy hours, worked themselves into the grave, as my mother would say, to send me to university to get my degree. But I was not, I was like, no, I went a different path, and I eventually ended up as a teacher, and I absolutely loved it. But what I saw in those schools in Egypt, which you can read about in my second book, Wallahi, but what I saw in those schools broke my heart on so many levels. Not just because of the curriculum that was being taught and how everything was segmented. There was not a lot of cross-cultural learning or cross-subject learning. Jigsaw pieces were not being put together, i.e. one subject relating to another. For example, when I taught the colour brown and squares, I didn't just teach the art and the mathematics. I taught the science and I taught home economics and health all in one lesson because we made chocolate brownies. I can't think of anything better to teach young children about the colour brown and squares and make it exciting. But the changeable, unchangeable states. And it's this changeable and unchangeable states that so many of us feel powerless. What state are we in right now on a personal level, family level, community, country, and global level. And what are those states can we change? What can we be instrumental in? Now, we may not think that we are capable of leading change, but we are more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And when I lived in Egypt and we had the uprising, I mean, I went out there and 6 months later, we got a bit more of an adventure than we bargained for, I can tell you. But what I saw was a level of leadership that baffled me. You know, there was no heart-centered leadership. There was no community leadership. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of whacking people with a stick. Like, you know, the donkey analogy, is it a carrot or a stick? It was very much a carrot. I mean, very much a stick. And the carrot that was given was an imaginary illusion. It was something that was put in front of you, promises. And those of you who will have heard the speech and understood, and my book, Wallahi means seriously or really, or in Islamic Arabic, swear to God. When Mubarak started his speech with Wallahi, 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 we knew that whatever came after that was going to be a lie. Whenever an Arab starts anything with Wallahi or Bagad, you know not to trust what comes after. Whether they're joking or whether they're being serious. Do not trust anything they say after this. And I know that those of you who are Arabs, you will be laughing right now. Yes, I know. And the thing is, what we saw in Egypt was a very poor level of leadership. But it's not just in Egypt, it's everywhere. It's in every single country. And yes, a lot of these people are doing it with what they think is good intentions. But just because somebody studies something, does it mean that they have the big picture? Are they studying the consequences of that piece of study? Are they looking at the knock-on effect? Are they looking at the big picture? You know, just because I study leadership and I coach authors, if I don't actually study the human condition, and if I don't study and research the things that have a knock, like business, if I don't study education, if I don't study nature, you know, am I really getting a full idea of what leadership is? And one of the things that we're seeing at the moment in the global sphere is this COVID-19 malarkey, as I'm calling it. And what has happened is there's been a lot of fear. And those people who have been asking questions going, well, actually, hang on a second, is this actually right? Is this what's going on here? And they're looking at information. Some people have gone so far down the rabbit hole, they've met Alice and the caterpillar. But what questions need to be asked? And are the people that are asking some very challenging questions, are they the right questions? Because some of them are getting called conspiracy theorists. Now, if we go back to 1902, this is the jump. If we go back to 1902, when Archibald Garrold risked conjecture, when he started questioning the family traits of a disease that was known at the time as gout, if he hadn't been asking the right questions and risked being ridiculed by his colleagues, then we would not have actually had the stepping stones and the deep foundations that the guys that actually learned and actually revealed to us the DNA and the genome theory, we wouldn't actually be in a position we are now to actually understand how diseases are passed from family to family, but also from generation to generation to generation. And we wouldn't actually understand how diseases are spread or how viruses are spread. So even in 1902, when Archibald Garrold asked these really difficult questions, but everybody thought he was a little bit crazy, he was actually laying down the foundations of a really, really powerful journey of discovery. He didn't know what he was asking, he was just asking. And if we don't ask, we don't get. And if we don't ask smarter questions, we're not going to get smarter solutions. So I'm going to invite you to go and discover the questions that you really want to ask and have the courage to ask those questions without fear of ridicule, without fear of other people calling you names, calling you conspiracy theories, or risking your job. If you have got a question, a burning question, then be the one to raise your hand and ask that question. Whether it is in your home, whether it's in your community, or in the workplace, or in the global sphere, you have a right to ask any question. Now, the person also has a right to deny an answer, but if we're not asking the right questions, we're not getting the right answer. And as one of my favourite authors on diversity, Stephen Page, says, when we actually have a diverse range of questions, we get a diverse range of answers, so we actually get to a solution a lot quicker. So, I invite you to go and explore the questions that either trigger you, but also explore the questions that are coming up within you. I'm going to leave that with you. And if you'd like to have a conversation, do email me through the House of Preeminence, or contact me via our Facebook page, or you can send me an email at hello@dawnbates.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll chat with you soon. Ciao!